Welcome into Giants Postgame Wrap-Up presented by Mercedes-Benz, the official luxury automobile of the New York Football Giants. I'm Madelyn Burke, joined by Giants Super Bowl champion Shaun O'Hara. Shaun, the Giants went out to Baltimore, lost to the Ravens 27-13. What's your immediate reaction to that one?
Yeah, Madelyn, they took a train down to Baltimore and they got run over by the train. And it was a really awful start offensively, just a total clunker. They were in an eggnog fog from the holiday. Clearly, only 3 plays in the first quarter alone and just took way too long to get things going. Defensively, they just really struggled early on, giving up 2 touchdowns in the first 2 drives, 3 scores in the very first 3 drives of the game. They got behind the 8 ball, early on and just never were able to overcome it.
Yeah, that first Ravens offensive drive took off half of the entire first quarter off the clock, and the Giants were in an uphill battle ever since. But you know what? Logan Ryan pretty much put it best. Let's have a listen.
This team is hard fought. This team's blue collar. We've been at the beginning. This team's been through lows and came back, had wins, and then had a loss after that, and then had another loss or whatever it may be. But this team came out and fight. Credit to Baltimore. They were good today. We know they were good. We came in their stadium and they're good. They win here a lot and they won today. But to allow a result of a football game dictate what I think about my teammates. I guess you weren't watching us on the fourth quarter, the last drive there when we're scratching and clawing, get a goal line stand. So I think we're fighters and we'll fight to the end regardless of the scoreboard.
Logan Ryan says this team is fighters, and Shaun, they're going to need to be fighters because it's not over just yet. The Giants had their eyes on those 4 o'clock games because they needed to have Washington lose to Carolina, and they needed to see Philadelphia lose to Dallas to remain alive in the NFC East. And you know what? That happened. Look at this. Carolina came out swinging. Look at this. Teddy Bridgewater to Robbie Anderson. They got ahead early and often, and they beat the Washington football team 20-6 out there.
Yeah, a couple of extra Christmas presents under the tree. Dwayne Haskins pulled, and then, of course, you said they needed the Dallas Cowboys to find a big victory against the Birds.
Dallas Cowboys had a huge victory. Coming into this game, they had 3 passing plays of over 50 yards all season. They had 3 passing plays of over 50 yards in this game. Andy Dalton was airing it out to his receiver, so the Giants are going to have to watch for that next week. But here's the scenario. If the Giants beat Dallas at home next week and Washington loses at the Eagles, the Giants could win the division at 6-10, Shaun.
Wow, it's remarkable. I don't think anybody would have guessed that would be the case when the season started, that a 6-win team would even be relevant right now. But that's the way 2020 has been. For Giants fans, the fact that the Giants are playing significant games right now is huge. And this will be a tough matchup. You mentioned Andy Dalton, over 350 yards passing. The triplets were on point against this Eagles secondary. So this is going to be a different style offense than they just faced with the Baltimore Ravens. Secondary certainly will be challenged.
It wasn't over. It still isn't over. And this show still isn't over. The Giants are going to be playing a meaningful game, the last game of the season. We've got a lot more to talk about here as Giants post-game wrap-up presented by Mercedes-Benz continues after this short break. And for the latest game highlights and analysis, download the Giants mobile app on your device's app store.
There's no moral victories, and to not get the result is disappointing, and by no means is anyone okay with that, but there are things that, positives we can take from today, positives we can take from where we've improved throughout the season as an offense, and as a team. So we'll continue to look at those things. We'll continue to study ourselves and learn what we still need to improve on. But I think throughout this season, this team has improved week to week.
Welcome back to Giants post-game wrap-up. Those Giants quarterback Daniel Jones passed for 255 yards and 1 passing touchdown today. Shaun, what do you make of his remarks after this loss?
Well, I think he knows it. Look, he got off to another slow start. We saw this 2 weeks ago against the Arizona Cardinals. A little bit of a clunker. I mean, to have 3 plays in the first quarter alone, that's unheard of in the league. And just the rust factor. It wasn't just Daniel Jones. Penalties early on. They got behind the 8 ball. This is a very tough defense. And coming into this game, you knew Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, was going to bring pressure. And it just did not seem like, as the game progressed, the Giants had an answer for that. And it seemed like Daniel Jones was confused a couple of times. They misidentified the Mike linebacker. They didn't have an answer for the hot route. So all in all, it was a tough performance offensively. While they managed to move the ball in the fourth quarter, it clearly wasn't working early on. And Daniel Jones, it wasn't about the health or the legs or anything. Things just weren't clicking, and he needs to play faster mentally.
And it's like what Joe Judge said earlier this week. This Giants team was looking to get out early and play from ahead rather than from behind, down 14-0 in that first quarter. Didn't really do them any favors. Let's have a listen to what head coach Joe Judge had to say after this game presented by Toyota, the official vehicle of the New York Giants.
All right, guys, obviously we didn't do enough to get the job done today. We give credit to Baltimore. It's a well-coached football team. They're very talented. They play very hard, and they present us with a number of issues that we had to start the game faster handling on all phases of the ball. I'm proud of the way our guys fought. We were able to make some adjustments in the second half and get some things going. We've got to get to that earlier as a staff and as players. And ultimately, we have to coach better. We have to play better. We have to make the plays in front of us. We have to make sure our guys are creating situations, put our guys in a position of their strength. So all that being said, I'll open up to any questions you have.
Zach Rosenblatt, NJ.com.
Hey, Joe. As you mentioned, you guys obviously got off to a slow start, got in that early hole. The Ravens are running the ball pretty effectively. I guess, how did you feel about how your team came out energy-wise, and what went wrong, do you think, in the beginning there?
Yeah, there wasn't any issue in terms of energy or anything emotionally or mentally being ready. We've just got to execute fundamentally better. That's the thing. We have to tackle better. We have to get off blocks better. We got to make sure we put the guys in the right call to help them, to give them some kind of an advantage to the scheme that we're seeing. Obviously they made some adjustments in their scheme going into this game to account for some of the things we did. We got to some different coverages and different fronts later in the game. Slowed them down, gave our guys a better chance. But we've got to do some things earlier in the game as coaches and players to start faster. We knew going into the game this was a team that, first quarter was a big edge for them over all their opponents. We knew it was going to be a fast start type of game, and we've got to react better to that.
Pat Leonard, Daily News.
Hey, Joe, what do you attribute the poor tackling to? Do you think that the guys weren't in the right spots as far as adjustments that needed to be made, or was it poor technique, or, how did you account for that?
I think ultimately, that's something that's been a strength for us as a team this year. Our guys have really improved in tackling in space and inline short space tackles. So to be honest with you, that's surprising today to see that. We've got to do some things fundamentally better to make sure we make the tackles, keep our feet moving, keep our eyes up, wrap, and we have to do a better job coaching that throughout the week to make sure it doesn't show up on the game day.
And on offense, what did you think of Daniel, how he looked, how he played coming back?
Yeah, I think Daniel looked the way I expected him to look out there. He played confidently, didn't look hesitant with anything he did. Gave us a chance out there. I thought Daniel did a lot of nice things today. Ultimately, as a team, it wasn't enough. But in terms of how he moved around coming off the injury, I thought he looked better.
Jordan Rana, ESPN.
Hey, Joe. You played this 4-game stretch. This is like the end of the stretch where you played against winning teams. You won the first. You lost the last 3. You obviously had a backup quarterback in there for 2 of those. What did you learn about your team during this stretch?
Well, I think I learned a lot about our team in the early season stretch, Jordan. All right, when we were, 0-5 and 1-7, and you find out right then that you've got a team that comes to work every day and is committed to everybody as far as getting better collectively. I learned how mentally tough they were through that stretch. I learned how focused they were and committed to really getting this thing going in the direction we want. Am I not trying to take shortcuts, but learn to do it the right way? So, look, the results of the last 3 games are what they are. We're paid to win games. That's what it is, professional football. We have to do a better job coaching, better job playing. We have to do more things to help us win the games. But ultimately, in terms of the character of the team, the work ethic of the team, the toughness of the team, we've got the right start to who we're working with and the direction we're going right now. We just got to make sure we do more on the field to have tangible results.
Tom Rock, Newsday.
Joe, you mentioned a couple of times that you would have liked to have seen the changes to the scheme, I'm guessing defensively, come around a little bit earlier. Well, why didn't they?
No, I thought Pat did a good job getting to the scheme when he got to it and slowed them on down. There's some adjustments continuously throughout the first half. We changed up how we did some coverage on the back end, to tighten up on their receivers. We played a scheme early on to kind of handle a lot more of the run. I think Lamar came out and did a really good job throwing the ball. They were making some contested catches, but we wanted to tighten the windows up on them a little bit. We were letting up some easy receptions early on. And again, with this team, the focus is stop the run. Pat made some adjustments. We were able to slow them down a little bit offensively. And then we got to stay on the field a little bit longer offensively to go ahead and help the defense out in the back end. We have to play good complementary football. All three phases have to play together.
And then, what was your take on the when they picked up the flag there late in the first half? Obviously, you guys were really hungry for a touchdown there.
On the talking about the pass interference call right there.
Yeah, and they picked it up.
I mean, look, it was what it was. They explained it. We're not going to go ahead and have any kind of courtroom on the field and change what it was. So we went out there, we kicked the field goal, took the points. We had to move on right there. But they saw what they saw, and I'll watch the tape and see if I see it any differently.
We'll take two more. Matt Lombardo, Ed Valentine. Matt Lombardo, fan-sided.
Hey, Joe, it seemed like on the two touchdowns, the one to Des Bryant and the one to Marquise Brown, they were pretty wide open in the back of the end zone. What happened there? Was it just miscommunication? Did they find a soft spot in his own?
Yeah, I think anytime that someone's that wide open. Yeah, anytime someone's that wide open, there's obviously some kind of breakdown, within the scheme. We got to make sure we do a better job getting 11 guys playing on the same page. There's never one guy there. It's easy to go ahead, and look back at the tape and try to circle someone without having all the information of what the call was, what the scheme was, what the communication pre-snap may have been. We got to take a look at that and make sure that, we don't ever have that happen again. It's not something we've had a lot this year. Our guys done a really good job communicating and playing ahead. We had it twice today. That's something we have to eliminate. It's tough to stop any team when you let guys just run free. So we have to eliminate that.
Last one here, Ed Valentine, Big Blue View.
Hey, Joe, you talk so much about progress, but, you guys have lost 3 straight. You've been outscored 73-26 in those 3 games. How do you make an argument at this point that you're still making week-to-week progress?
Yeah, I don't have to make an argument on that, Ed. I can turn the tape on every week. I can watch with my players. I can see what we improve on every week. I can see what we're deficient in, what we have to improve on that week, and put the focus on the next opponent coming up. So, again, look, I'm not trying to make an argument for anything. The tape really tells the truth. Our guys are, big believers on watching what's on tape and addressing what we have to internally and moving forward by working hard.
That was Giants head coach Joe Judge after the loss to Baltimore. And Shaun, one of the things he talked about was the adjustments his team made, especially on defense. The Giants gave up 432 yards of total offense and 249 yards on the ground. What do you make of what you saw from this defense today?
Yeah, they knew they were going to get a heavy dose of the run game, and they were prepared for it, but things just happen faster on the field. It's faster than what you see in the scout team. And they found out on the very first drive, Madelyn, 13 plays, 82 yards. The Baltimore Ravens marched right down the field on them, and it was smash-mouth football. They brought in the extra offensive lineman, and there really was no answer early on for that. So while the defense has been so good the last couple weeks at holding teams to field goals, ironically, it was the red zone pass defense that failed them, and it was Lamar Jackson's arm that ended up with the early score. So I think that was frustrating to see, and you could hear it on Joe Judge's voice, the frustration with the miscommunication in the backfield defensively. That's something they've been so excellent at all year long. Understanding when they're in zone coverage, passing those crossing routes out, man coverage, pressing, and letting the safety help over the top. So that was really, it was something we had not seen a lot of this year. And for that to happen down there, it really attributed to them trying to sell out to the run.
Absolutely. And to the run, to your point, the Giants' run defense came in here 6th ranked in the league, allowing an average of 101.8 yards per game. They gave up 100 yards on the ground in the first half alone. All right, we got a lot more to talk about with this one. We'll hear from Giants wide receiver Sterling Shepard and have more player reaction as Giants post-game wrap-up continues after this. Today's scoring drive of the game is brought to you by Investors Bank. Get the official New York Giants checking account only from Investors Bank. Visit investorsbank.com/Giants for more details. For the scoring drive of the game, we take it to the 4th quarter. 3rd and 15, Daniel Jones passes to Sterling Shepard for a 16-yard gain, moves the chains. Then, after defensive offsides, Dion Lewis on 1st and 5 runs it all the way to the 3. Then Daniel Jones, 1st and goal, hits Sterling Shepard for the touchdown. Sterling Shepard's 2nd receiving touchdown of the season, and Daniel Jones's 1st passing touchdown since week 9. That play, 15 plays, 76 yards, 6 minutes and 15 seconds off the clock, finishing with that Sterling Shepard 3-yard receiving touchdown. All right, now let's send it down and see what Sterling Shepard had to say after this one.
We got the group of guys that are going to keep pounding no matter what's going on. And that's what I love about this team, and that's what I love about this offensive unit is guys are going to keep on working. And as you can see it towards the end of the game, I mean, we were still pounding, trying to put a point on the board. So, I'm proud of the guys and the way that they finished the game.
And Shaun, Giants wide receiver Sterling Shepard keeps on working. He's climbing up the Giants record books as well. Today he had his 305th reception, passing Victor Cruz with 303 receptions. Sterling Shepard now sits at 6th all-time in Giants wide receivers. Great stat right there.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Congratulations to Sterling. I know he'd much rather have the win, but certainly Victor Cruz had a lot of explosive plays during his time as a Giant. And for Sterling, it just seems like whenever he makes a big play, it provides such a spark for the offense. And you showed that play, the 3rd and 15, where he got 16 yards and, look, he dragged a couple defenders, split some guys. That's the physical presence that Sterling Shepard brings to the offense. And, you see it right here, just, always finding a way to secure that catch. You don't see him drop many passes. This is the 3rd and 15 I was referring to. I mean, right here, look, they should have tackled him. He had 2 defenders right there. He splits them. The 3rd one's coming up. But the awareness there to
where
know
you got to get to, right?
That's where the sticks are. I know I've got to get there. And it was great to see them finish the drive with that touchdown throw. And again, in that play, he had to be physical with the corner. And after the slant route, find a way to get out. But the other thing about Sterling Shepard, loves to block. Mm-hmm. And when you have a receiver that loves to get in there and get physical, put his nose in there, dig out a safety, that really, it becomes contagious to the rest of the offense.
That's really an underappreciated element of Sterling Shepard's game is his blocking ability and his physicality. And like you said, his awareness, that veteran receiver he's becoming. Him and Wayne Gallman, the 2 longest tenured Giants here on this roster. All right, we got a lot more coming up here on the program. Giants Postgame Wrap-Up presented by Mercedes-Benz, the official luxury automobile of the New York Football Giants, will continue after this.
We have to stay hungry and we got to keep going and get it, and we got to just know that everything, like the next games aren't promised. We're not going to just win because we've been winning. We got to go earn it, and make the plays to win.
Welcome back to Giants Post-Game Wrap-Up presented by Mercedes-Benz. That was Dexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy, talking about, hey, you know what, next games aren't promised, except for this team. They do have one game promised, the last game of the season, which is going to mean something.
Yeah, absolutely. And that alone, I mean, it's going to feel like a playoff game for both teams. Obviously, this late in the season for the Giants to be in this position, it's all hands on deck. And, look, obviously nothing is promised, but right now, the fact that you get a chance to redeem yourself from the Week 5 loss against the Dallas Cowboys when the Giants were up 17-3, lose with back-to-back field goals at the end of the game. So this is unfinished business for the Giants right now.
Giants-Cowboys is always a good matchup, but, the Giants' defense has really been the backbone of this team. How much is that going to be key for this defense to kind of rise to the occasion this week?
Well, especially the way Andy Dalton's been playing with the receivers, and they've been so explosive offensively. That's going to be huge. But Tony Pollard has been a nice 1-2 punch with Zeke Elliott. There you see CeeDee Lamb, his playmaking ability. So from the slot, that's going to be a great matchup for this secondary. Of course, James Bradbury's been great on the outside, but Dalton Schultz, the tight end, has been a monster in the middle of the field, so that'll be a good challenge for Blake Martinez. Here's Tony Pollard right here showing the burst, the acceleration. He's actually looked faster than Zeke Elliott, whereas Zeke has kind of been more of the punisher and the more physical runner. So looks like the offensive line's playing a little better. Amari Cooper has definitely had a good season, and now he and Andy Dalton seem to be on the same page. And you can't forget about Michael Gallup as well.
Absolutely. The Cowboys seem to be finding their rhythm after a little bit of a rocky start to this season, and those weapons that they've got on there, nothing to scoff at. But here's the scenario once again. We talked about this earlier in the show. The Giants could win the NFC East at 6-10 if the Giants beat Dallas at home and Washington loses at the Eagles, because of course the Giants hold the tiebreaker over Washington. But if Washington comes away with that win, then the football team will have the edge in the win column over the Giants.
I tell you, Madelyn, it would be a pretty nice nightcap to the year, right? 2020, to be able to hand out the T-shirts and the hats. It would be a lot like a Christmas present or a birthday present.
Oh,
and
yes.
That being said, Happy birthday to Don Sperling, the
Oh,
man
yes.
who does it all. He's in charge of all this. Thank you so much for all your hard work, and we hope that your arm feels better.
We got to wish Don Sperling a very happy birthday, and I think that this Giants team is going to do their best to make sure that his birthday week, because yes, we are doing birthday weeks this year, is a good one. Going into that last game, January 3rd, Giants-Cowboys, you've got a lot of memories of those games. Just how do you articulate how great this matchup is?
It's always a slobber knocker. There you go. And Don's going to get a discount now at IHOP too. So we've got to make sure that when he gets healthy and we celebrate the playoff victory.
Victory is all we're here for. And the entire NFC East is going to be playing on Sunday. Giants, Cowboys, Washington, Philly. It's going to be a free-for-all, really. It's
Great way to start the new year.
Great way to start the new year. New division winner. You think we're here for it? I'm here for it.
I'm here for it.
And we are gonna be here for it. We're gonna be here every game day. MSG Networks, 11:30 p.m. Giants post-game wrap-up. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We will see you next week, maybe a few after that. For Shaun O'Hara, I'm Madelyn Burke. We'll see you next week.